Listen, you're not gonna find anything on me, okay? Trust me.
Empty your pockets into the tray, sir, or we'll have to. Your pockets, sir?
Lady, the problem isn't in my pants.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. It's that time of the week where we talk all things X-Men. And this week we're going to focus on one title. It's X-Men 20. Finally, Jonathan Hickman starts to pick up some of these plot threads that he dropped along the way. I thought it was a very exciting issue. It has been contentious. You know, I've seen some people that weren't as excited as I was. Some people even called me out on it, said I was dead wrong. And here with me to talk about that is the X-Men historian, the Marvel aficionado. Doc, how you doing?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to talking about this. I really enjoyed this issue.
I loved it. I was like, thank goodness they finally picked up some of these things that we've been missing for so long. It's I think the experiment with one-shots that just jump around as far as narratively speaking and even thematically speaking all over the map and not having a central focus or vision or driving idea behind the X-Men series, I don't think it's been a success. But when he comes back and he hits these things like the Nimrod story or the Children of the Vault story or some of these other big ideas, I think it's still one of the best titles out there.
I agree. I liken what he's been doing is it's what he's been trying to do with X-Men. Seems like he's just trying to reinvent the wheel. He found a formula in Hawks and Pox that worked, that everybody responded to, that everyone loved. And it was kind of a very meat and potatoes. Now it was original, it was different, but everybody liked it. And it's like he's been trying to substitute in tofu for something, for a different ingredient every month, rather than, and every time he comes back to the meat and potatoes stuff, it gets right back on focus. All that excitement from House of X, Powers of X comes right back. And I think that's like the double-edged sword of this issue. Because it was really good. It hits all those themes and story and plot points and everything that everybody was like, yes, this is what I want my X-Men to be. This is what I've been waiting for since the launch of this brand.
Yeah, it was quite enjoyable. And did you notice that he did not have one graphic information page?
Yes, there were. They didn't waste
Everybody
time.
else has got fucking poetry and posters and menus and all kinds of stupid stuff. I think we had one that was like a workout sheet on Instagram or something. If you don't need them, don't use them.
Yes.
The guy that introduced them is doing that.
Yeah. They're look, infographic and like info pages can be useful sometimes. Like, I don't mind the way that they use them in X-Force. I wish they would use them a little more effectively, because they're still, when you're using it like a memo from, an agency desk or something off to, your boss or whomever it's going to, fine. Make sure that the content matters and it's not just
additive.
Yes, it needs to be additive. And there's been a lot that hasn't been additive. If anything, it's distracting and made me just skip right over all of those.
Absolutely. So I didn't mention that in my review, but I was like, thank goodness somebody's like, listen, if you don't need it, don't use it. We're telling a good story here. No reason to interrupt this momentum. Just like I interrupted your momentum, Doc. So what was it about it? You said it's a double-edged sword. People are excited about the story. You said you enjoyed it. But I've heard you be critical about it too. Let's be honest here.
I am. And I'm not critical of, now within this story. Okay, there were a few things in this one issue. If I'm ignoring the other 19 issues of X-Men and just picking up and looking at this one issue, story-wise, there's a few problems. There's a number of significant plot points that they're just big plot holes, especially with Nimrod and him dying. If he can duplicate, why didn't he send his duplicate to go and hold the bomb that was blowing up?
He was running after after Mystique, and there wasn't time. So the man had to sacrifice himself for his wife.
No, he made 2 duplicates. He made one that went running after Mystique. He made another one that escorted his wife away.
I don't know. Maybe that duplicate did not have the humanity or humility enough to grab a bomb and sacrifice himself.
Yeah, but all he has to do is just tell it, go jump, teleport away.
He already told it to go save his wife. I don't know.
I know, but he didn't need this. It was a needless sacrifice.
How about this one, Doc? How about this one? Why did Mystique need to see Nimrod come to life? She could have just gone through the portal, dropped the bomb, and went home.
Yes. I mean, hell, if she was going to hang out there until it blew up, just to make sure it blows up, cool. I would have even accepted that. There was no reason for her to even be in that room. She didn't need to.
You think she'd want to hide so no one would find her?
Yeah, exactly. Or you just, the minute you got into that room, you just kind of turn it on and hold it behind your back. And before Nimrod even comes online, instead she wanted to watch the show.
That's the big plot hole that I was like, she probably should just drop the bomb off as soon as she got in there. No reason to do this.
Yeah. There really wasn't. I mean, that was another major plot point. Now, when I am looking at the other 20 issues, this is where, or the other 19 issues in this series, this is where I really find it to be a double-edged sword. Because out of 20 issues now, we've had 5 by my count that were legitimately good issues and that furthered those plot points. You had the 3 issues involving the Children of the Vault. And
you had issue 5, which was the Children of the Vault. You had issue 6 was Nimrod, the 2-issue story later on that was following up on Children of the Vault, and then you have this one.
Yes, exactly. Up on Nimrod. So for every 1 good, you're getting 3 bad that are just a waste of time.
I wouldn't say they're all bad. There's some average stuff in there, but there's definitely some bad ones.
Yeah, but my point is it's 4 issues. 1 out of every 4 is actually furthering any plot. The other 15 are just nonsense. They're random, throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks when everybody already...
Wow, there's a lot of stuff that was furthering the Araco stuff that's already been finished in Ten of Swords.
Barely.
Remember the 2 islands humped?
Yeah, I do.
The summoner showed up. I believe that was his name.
Yeah, and then they wasted $4 by selling us the same comic twice. But no, like the other problem with reading this issue was it felt really jarring. Like all of the stuff that happened at House of X, Powers of X, and then they just ignored the whole thing, other than that 1 issue with Nimrod early on. They ignored everything with Orcus, everything going on the Forge. And a good writer, and this is not saying that Hickman's a bad writer, but a good writer, if he would have been building up for 20 issues to get to this, would have been throwing in small amounts of what you stick 1 page or a half a page or a couple of panels of elsewhere this is going on, so that you know that that's going on in the background. There needs to be some foreshadowing leading yourself to this, and that is a huge error. So as it stands, we have House of X, Powers of X. We had issue 6, and then it just jumps. There's a bunch of stuff that happened on Orcus, and we didn't get to see any of it, and then suddenly it's a problem again. And it feels like you're just getting like it feels like I missed 2 or 3 issues of that B plot being added in, because that's what it should have been. Each issue, if he was going to do the one and done, you have that A plot that, we talked about it last time on when it comes to writer influences and how they write serialized stories, where you have there needs to be, if he was essentially doing a movie or a Freak of the Week plotting to it with no connective tissue at all. in this series, and that it's like he had this huge opportunity he could have used, and I don't know if he did it intentionally, unintentionally, just didn't really think about it, but he entirely missed on an opportunity. You could have had 20 issues where this would have been everything leading up to this, and then they miss this time. The first time on House of X, Powers of X, they were leading up and dropping that Sentinel Master Mold head thing into the sun, and they won that time, but it was a Pyrrhic victory because they're still doing the Nimrod thing, and then you could have been building up again, and this time they went to try to strike, but they missed.
You know what I find disappointing is this is essentially his last issue.
Yeah.
The next issue of X-Men, which I guess technically is his last, is the introduction of the new X-Men team and the launching of Jerry Duggan's new X-Men reboot series.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's so essentially we got 5 issues of Hickman X-Men that we were promised it was an implied promise from House of X and Powers of X. And that's it. We got 5 issues.
Yeah, he didn't come back and revisit it until he came to say goodbye. Remember this? I'm taking it over to Inferno.
Yeah, and that's assuming this has, that there's any real connective tissue. It could be a whole other story that only deals with a small aspect of it, and we're still going to get all that the stuff with AI and mutant hunting and the war between mutants and humans. All that is probably going to get forgotten in this too. Now it's Inferno's, in my opinion and my estimate, is going to be mostly a Mystique versus Xavier and Magneto event, story thing.
Kind of what I'm expecting too. I don't know. Obviously, I haven't got the cliff notes, but I'm expecting it to be, Mystique trying to burn it to the ground, like Destiny told her to when she was that mask entity thing.
Exactly. And now, and this issue proves that, House of X, Powers of X wasn't a fluke in that Hickman wrote a good story and then he didn't really have any ideas after that. So he obviously still has ideas to play with, but it also just shows that I don't know if it's editorial. I don't know if it's his decision. I don't know why. But it's like he mentally is checked out of this series 3/4 of the time.
Yeah, he's like, well, I should be releasing this as a quarterly comic book, but I have to do more than that. Like, why did they bum rush? Like, they were throwing out 2 issues a month, like 1 issue every 3 weeks, all that stuff. If they were just biding their time to get to this point.
Well, it's like Hickman. It seems like Hickman has maybe 30 issues, 40 issues total worth of story. The only problem is they're going to stretch it over 6 years, 7 years, more than likely. And they decided to give all these other people an opportunity, and he has to just basically pace himself. He had 5 issues worth of story to tell in the first 20 issues. So he had 12 issues.
You're not giving him credit for the Araco stuff. That certainly was introduced in House of X, Powers of 10. People, not yourself, but there were people that were definitely interested in the original Four Horsemen and what was going to happen with Apocalypse and what were they doing on the other side of the breach. There were a few issues about that.
It was such a minor plot point in...
To you, I'm telling you, other people really enjoyed that.
Well, no, I'm just saying in House of X, Powers of X, it's a minor plot point because it was only like a half a page out of the whole story. So, yeah, that makes it a minor plot point. Out of 12 issues, it had about a half a page, maybe a page. It was literally just a side note.
And a piece of history, but it was also heavily insinuated in the, my goodness, the Mr. Sinister, the red bar.
Yeah, whatever it was. Sinister... Bar Sinister, like red things.
Trivia quote poem things that they did with it. It was all hints at what was going to happen. That was in there like 3 times.
Yeah, I understand that, but it was still, overall minor plot point that could have been addressed at any point in time. There was really no urgency to it. But regardless, he essentially had 5 issues worth of material, and but everyone else had 20 issues worth of stuff to do so that it would all line up at the same time. Honestly, yeah, it should have been a quarterly or semi-annual release book, just so that we didn't have to get our time wasted for 15 months.
Why even release it as an ongoing?
I don't know.
Just release it as miniseries that come out when it's necessary.
Now,
because it's clear that when he's not doing the stuff he's interested in, he does check out, and the comics get bad. They suck.
Yeah, there is a detriment in quality. There is a massive deficiency in quality in the issues where he obviously doesn't care, because he can't make us care either. No. You know, there's a thing with creative.
Sometimes it's hard to fake it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Audiences realize when you don't give a shit, and they can't bring themselves to give a shit as a result.
Yeah.
Now, one good thing that I did like about this, though, is especially with the 2 Nimrod duplicates, that was good foreshadowing there. Now, I hope they do something with it as a B plot so that it actually pays off buying the fucking book on a regular basis. But those 2 are going to become Nimrod the Greater and Nimrod the Lesser.
But it's not going to be in X-Men. It's going to be in whatever Jonathan Hickman's writing.
Exactly.
Do you think he's just going to do miniseries? It sounds like Inferno is going to be limited series.
I think so. I think the experiment of, you know, just like doing filler issues for 3/4 of the time and only dropping actual plot advancing issues every so often. I don't think he likes the way it's negatively impacted his reputation. I really don't. And I think he's just saying, I'm only writing stuff going forward that's actually going to matter towards my plot. So don't put me on an ongoing if you're going to make me wait to advance my plot and just kill time.
No,
because all these other
killed.
Well, yeah, because all these other clowns that you guys decided to bring into this office to overbloat the line, they need time to catch up. I only have 6 issues worth of stuff. They got 20. I gotta wait. I gotta only put in 6 issues over 20 months? No.
It's crazy. At least there's some things that are exciting right now. You got this upcoming Inferno. I believe it's a limited series, but it's also going to be like an event book. Way of X. It's still at this point is really promising. It's addressing some of the things that we've been interested in. At least it's it's a lot deeper than a lot of the other X-Men books. Hellions is still a great book. Wolverine and X-Force seems to have gone down a little bit, but at least there's 3 exciting books right now. I imagine not everyone's as excited as we are about Hellions, and that certainly doesn't. Well, it's starting to fit into the Hawks and Pox stuff with this Mr. Sinister. It feels like maybe he's going to be doing like some Chimera experiments, but
yeah, and now, in my opinion, they need to kind of do what they're starting to do now with all those minor plot points, like the Araco stuff, the Kurt starting a religion. All those things need to be the central focus of the side books, while Hickman only advances the major plot point, which was humans, the inevitable collision course between humans, AI, and mutants. That's what he needs to focus entirely his stuff on. Let Cy Spurrier do that. Instead, you're letting Tinny Howard go and write nonsense that has no connection at all to anything that was really done in Hawks and Pox. You're letting Vita run around and do a bunch of stuff in New Mutants that has no connection to it, and Children of the Atom, no connection to it. It's just random offshoot stuff that isn't exploring any of the minor plot points that were established. They should all be working as a supporting act to his main series. And right now, they're not.
No, I think his his ideas are the supporting act to keep them employed.
Exactly. Because the only reason, if you took Hickman out of that line tomorrow, no one would give a shit, and it would go down. It would go down faster than the color book eras.
It's already going down pretty fast from what I've seen. But I do think X-Men 20 is going to reinvigorate interest. People are going to be excited for that Inferno book. We'll see what happens with Hellfire Gala.
Yeah, I mean, but this is kind of the typical Hickman-era stuff where they give us a grain of good stuff every so often just to keep us around, and then they go right back to wasting our time with shit like the Hellfire Gala and generic Duggan getting the main book afterwards.
It's going to look good with Pepe Larraz, though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it'll be like.
I wish he was on the Inferno book.
So it's like reading Brett Booth's Bloodshot. You just white out Tim Seeley's terrible and make your own word bubbles.
It's a plan.
Now, the one other thing though that I had a problem with on this was just Hickman is now. I liked what they're going with it. They're using the Inferno name because it has an X-Men connection. I don't think the story is going to have any connection to the original Inferno. I don't think it's going to have anything to do with demons or Madeline Pryor. I think it's literally just going to be Mystique trying to burn Krakoa to the ground. But the thing is, Inferno, the Destiny Diaries, like, Moira was sitting there reading at the end. I've seen all this before. He's just copying Chris Claremont's homework. I mean, Claremont did the Destiny Diaries when he made his first return to X-Men, and then he did it in the Extreme X-Men book. That's the whole point of that entire era of Hickman or of Claremont X-Men. Inferno, obviously just copying his homework. But look, because if Grant Morrison, I like to refer to Grant Morrison, he was a really good cover band, basically covering Chris Claremont's greatest hits. It seems like Hickman is now, he's a pop star doing a remixed pop medley version of the greatest hits of some classic band at a Super Bowl halftime show. And that kind of always
That's
sucks.
not new for Hickman, though. When he's worked at Marvel, he's recycled a lot of plot lines and big event titles before.
I get that.
Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Infinity obviously was just a new interpretation of Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, but my point is that he's a pop star doing a pop medley, like kind of rearranged version of like some Led Zeppelin tracks, and it just doesn't work unless he's only focused on that.
Yeah. The others, a lot of the other stuff was wasted time, but I'm hoping Inferno is what I think it is, and then we'll finally get some closure and some exploration of some of these wonderful ideas. Doc, I do want to say we're going a little long. I do want to say thank you very much to come on here, talk about X-Men 20, the implications of Inferno, and just some of the things that have went wrong along the way. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I love this issue, but it almost puts a spotlight on how bad 15 of the other 19 issues were.